which would report to the City Council. I don't think that meant in an advisory role. I think that meant an elected board of utilities, and to let it run like a business. And that was a common theme throughout our study, and what we found was successful for the electric utility. And I would just ask that you consider that and please act accordingly, I guess. I would oppose anything that would have us doing what we did prior to 2008, which led to all the problems that led us to the keeper cell studies and finally to the Electric Utility Board as it stands today. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Good evening, Mark.
Evening. Mark Baldwin, 31115 West 172nd Terrace. I assure you this is not a filibuster, but mine is longer. My comments are based on my experience on the EUB as a member of the BPU Investigation Committee and many meetings I've had with City Council members and the City Admin, the EUB members, and the Electric Director, and are prefaced by what the effects of approving an advisory board ordinance would be. The original two concerns with Ordinance 2296 was the fact that Gardner Energy had a separate salary schedule, and this could lead to human resource type issues and economic development. Action wasn't precluded from the EUB's purview. I, on behalf of the board, have many times addressed these concerns, stating that the GE salary schedule details can be copied into the city salary schedule, and the ordinance should specifically state what economic development actions are authorized by the board. The board acknowledges a separate salary schedule can be confusing and wishes to alleviate this headache. The separate salary schedule was a recommendation of the HR director years ago. The salary schedule has been amended with HR's involvement throughout the years, and if the council would like the HR director to manage only one schedule, that's an easy fix. If anyone has hurt feelings over some of the GE employees receiving raises when other city employees didn't, that was never our intention. It was to reward those employees, but it is nice to see that this council is looking to reward employees with incentive increases, whereas previous councils did not. Hopefully this will reduce the city's attrition rate and stop Gardner City Hall from being Johnson County's trading facility. I have yet to hear the city attorney list a specific statute the EUB is in violation of. A separate law firm specializing in utility matters doesn't find cause for alarm with the ordinance. There's been some mention of accountability concerns from city staff. The city staff works for the city admin, who works for city council, which is elected to serve and represent the community. Based on the number of citizens that come to EUB meetings, other than GE staff or EUB family, this can be counted on a hand over the past few years. Emails to EUB members. I've personally never received an email from a constituent. Emails or editorials regarding electric service or rates, and calls to a Gardner Electric regarding rates or service, which are very minimal, indicate the community is pleased with their electric utilities operation and the management thereof by the EUB. It can be surmised then that the community feels the current state of accountability is acceptable. It was brought to my attention that the finance director won't sign off on the electric budget because of lack of putting it together. It seems logical that someone wouldn't want to sign off on something not 100% vetted by that same person. But the finance director handles the city finances, and since GE is a city department, the finance director should be comfortable with that budget. Just because Gardner Energy has an oversight board has no bearing on final accountability of the numbers. The accountability and liability didn't change when the board was created, nor will it if the board is converted to an advisory capacity. The city still submits a single budget. A change that now will occur is that the city admin will be able to adjust the electric utilities budget line items. So if Parks and Recs needs a cash infusion or water needs something, it's plausible electric can delay a project or have rates raised. Results-based budgeting doesn't guarantee there won't be robbing Peter to pay Paul to achieve the council's desired results. One might argue that having the utility pay for other projects in the city is the benefit of owning it, but that's blurring the lines. A utility is supposed to be self-supporting. Usage is monitored via meter, and the service is a pay-for-usage model. The department, from a finance perspective, should be considered the same as a third-party business. The EUB was created to allow the citizens to reap the benefits of the utility without selling it. Had we sold it, service would have been much worse through KCPL. Consider 9-minute response times versus KCPL sending a truck from Kansas City, Kansas. And rates would be higher. Rates continue to raise frequently by the large investor-owned utilities because they have power plants that need to meet environmental regulations. In addition, they tend to garner a profit of 10% to pass back to shareholders. The city owning its electric company immediately cuts the 10% overhead, plus hasn't been affected by the government mandates for the environment. Citizens benefit from a reliable system, fast and friendly customer service, and highly competitive electric rates. The city could not decide they want to recapture funds from the utility like what has happened this year. The city would also not be reaping the benefit of ratepayers helping with city expenses. Without a cost allocation study, it's hard to say definitely, but I'm confident it would show the approximately $500,000 coming from the electric budget to the city more than covers the expenses incurred by the utility. In addition, the franchise fee that the council controls, which is set at 5%, the maximum it could have been set at without going to the KCC, had the utility been sold to KCPL or Westar, isn't actually at 5% according to the budget. The city is collecting more than 5%. This is surely an accounting error, as no city council vote approved a franchise fee increase, but it does go to show how owning the utility can be beneficial, as no KCC involvement is necessary. Furthermore, a while back when the bills for the Celebration Park weren't right, GE chose to not collect the missing funds, as that would burden the taxpayer further. KCPL would have surely demanded payment. The citizens benefit the most by having utility and it being managed well. If the city admin can manipulate budget items, there is a direct correlation to electric service, system maintainability, and reliability, and/or rates. The city admin takes marching orders from the council regarding the budget, and based on the results of the BPU investigation committee and the status of the water and wastewater utilities, as well as the lack of leadership of past councils to follow rate studies and to maintain the system, the fact that more utilities are heading in the direction of a separate board, according to KMU, it's apparent it's in the best interest of a ratepayer, the people of this community, that business decisions regarding utilities should reside with a board that can provide guidance to the director. The board members can be specialized, technical people bringing knowledge to the table, and by being on the board can further learn the specifics of the city's utility. Content experts guiding a director with the ability to make cost-conscious and quick decisions based on a budget solely funded by electric revenue means better decisions will be made. There is no this or that decision that so commonly occurs at a city level, i.e. the city admin and council level. The board doesn't receive emails regarding 50 different facets of the community, nor do constituents expect anything but smart fiduciary management and great service from the utility. Any promise or mention of a future BPU or anything other than an advisory board at this point is completely contradictory to the recommendation of changing the board to an advisory capacity only. The citizens of Gardner and even Edgerton, by means of the school district, deserve leadership regarding their electric utility. Continue to allow the EUB to serve the role so desperately needed to spend the time and energy to run the utility. Does council really want to approve an electric recommendation every meeting? Does the council have the time to study rates when the current board has been doing that for 2 years? At a previous work session, it was noted that 97% of municipal utilities are without some form of board. Data is wonderful, but needs context to be useful. There are 119 municipal electric utilities in Kansas, but only 8 serve more than 5,000 customers. Of the top 25 cities in Kansas by population, Gardner being number 24, only 4 own their own electric. Of those, 3 utilize a board, or BPU, or commission to manage the utility. As a side note, McPherson's the 26th largest city and has a BPU. In other words, if a city of comparable or larger size owns an electric utility, operational decisions are made by a semi-autonomous or completely autonomous group. I respect Councilman Fodovich's conviction that he was elected and thus he should be making decisions regarding city assets. It's a great stance to have and works well when the city is much smaller, but it's unrealistic to expect each council member to be a water expert, an electric expert, in addition to making policies, working on economic development, etc. The council level is a high-level direction and policy-making group, not a micromanagement group. Delegate operations to those that have the time and expertise to be effective. Heck, the council can take the praise for the board's good work and instead work on economic development for the city. Even CEOs of large public corporations have to sign off on paperwork saying 1 or 1,000 of the employees did their work correctly and everything is legal and compliant. Accountability stops with them, but they don't micromanage every single detail as their business could never survive if they did that. The council is similar to a CEO. The EUB is akin to middle management. The most trusted advisors that handle the day-to-day operations and projects to implement the CEO's goals. Ultimately, the council still has liability and responsibility, but if I was that CEO, I'd be willing to trust people I handpicked to surround myself with to handle details not at the highest level. The EUB handles high-level details of the utility, which are lower-level details than a council member should be concerned with. I believe a separate wastewater board should be formed to handle those utilities, but that doesn't have to happen today. Allow content experts to best run each utility